and began to present these hard questions, they weren't giving me the answers I was satisfied with. They gave me answers, but I wasn't satisfied with them. So I was like, well, maybe it's just this church. So I went to another church and went to more churches, and everywhere I went, I had the same hard questions. And they were giving me these Band-Aid answers. Oh, well, God is mysterious, and, you know, you can't understand God. And, you know, see, that's what people tell you when they don't really know the hell themselves. I went inward. After I went to all those folks that didn't tell me nothing but lies, I did exactly what this book said. It says go inward. See, all the answers are in you. Oh, this book that I was reading for you that don't know, someone walked in and he obviously was not here when we began the lecture, but this is called The Ancient Secrets of Melchizedek, and this is the book that I've been reading out of. And so when I began to go inward and I began to silence myself, I began to stop running to and fro, and I just sat down wherever I was at. And I know when I was little, my favorite place was the bathroom. I know everybody got a favorite place. When I was little, because I was raised in a home where it was a bunch of people, so the only place where I could really have some alone time was the bathroom. And so you have to find a place where you can be alone and get you some quiet time. And if it has to be a closet or a bathroom, hey, don't reject it. Go for it. You know, you get in that closet or that bathroom and you become one with yourself, because that's what I did. And then I used to play make-believe, and I used to just ask questions, and I didn't think it was nothing out there really going to give me some answers. You just kind of like talking, and you think you just, you know how you just be talking to the air and stuff, but you be asking questions. Well, I didn't even really consider it meditation. I don't even call it meditation. You just be sitting up there just talking. You know, you just be talking to yourself. The same stuff people call you crazy for. Oh, I did a whole lot of that. I did a whole lot of that. So they thought, I mean, if you would see me now, you think I'm straight up crazy, because I do a lot of talking to myself. But really, I come to find out that I'm not talking to myself, but I am talking to the universe. You see what I'm saying? Because I know that the all is forever present. So a lot of things that they will label you crazy for, you need to go ahead on and do them anyway. Because through my craziness, I found my liberation. You know, because see, they were the one really crazy. Once I began to see things from a clear perspective, and that all the information that they were telling me was incorrect, and that there was really nothing wrong with me. And so as I began to reject that information, and I began to go inward, and the universe and the ancestors began to bring information to me, it started making sense. See, that's how I knew that I was on to something, because it began to make sense, and it began to answer questions concerning why the stuff that I was seeing going on around me was going on. Because I had went to all these other places and people, and they weren't giving me the right answers that made sense to me. So I think that's a good place for everybody to start, that when you have questions, one, don't be afraid to ask them, and two, when you go to the ones, to the people that they tell you are the experts and they ain't giving you the right answers, don't accept them Band-Aid answers, because there are answers to every question that you have, but if you go to the wrong source, you always get the wrong answer. So when I went to the true source, which was the Creator, the Supreme All, then all the answers that came back to me were correct. So you have to realize that man and wombed man is limited in their knowledge. So you go to your mama and your daddy, they limited in their knowledge. And depending on who educated them, you don't know how accurate or truthful or honest their knowledge is. And see, and based off of the information I'm giving to you today, here's a book called The Deceiving of the Black Race. You know that a lot of your information from your mama and your daddy, it's been totally incorrect. So your mama and your daddy didn't give you truthful information, because they weren't giving truthful information about themselves. So ultimately, I realized that the only person I could truly rely on for the truth was myself. That's who I ultimately relied on. And when I began to apply that, I began to get different results. So you have to realize that a lot of us are messed up today because we listened to what our mamas and our grandmamas and our daddies, because they told us, listen, all you got to do is go to church. Everything going to be all right. All you got to do is accept so-and-so, so-and-so. Everything going to be all right. All you got to do is learn that word. Everything gonna be all right, and everything wasn't all right. We wasn't all right. The world wasn't all right. They wasn't all right, but they kept telling us this. And we was like, but what you saying, you know, we don't see it. We don't see the reality. You're saying it, but I can look at you and see you. You got cancer. Your feet are swollen. You got a job you can't stand. But you keep hollering about, ooh, baby, I'm all right. And like, you don't look all right to me. So you have to realize that our parents became very skilled in lying to us. They became proficient liars. They lied to us. And that's why I'm sitting here today, because we got to crack open these lies, and we need to start giving our black youth the truth. Because if we don't, we're not going to make it as a race of people. And right now we're not making it because everything that we are operating on is based off of misinformation and lies. And it's one thing when your enemy lies to you, but when your own mama, and I mean, you know, your mama's supposed to have your best interest at heart, and your daddy and your aunts and your uncles. So when these very people who are responsible for molding and shaping you and educating you concerning your surroundings and the world and how you're supposed to operate, when they have actually given you misinformation, I mean, you know, it's a lot of people never recover from that. There's a lot of people who have existed and lived and gone to the grave because they applied this misinformation and it cost them their lives. So it's very dangerous that when you come here, you have made an agreement. And your biggest agreement and covenant is with your species and your children. So when a female has younger children and she gives birth and life to these children, and then she turns around and does them the biggest disservice by lying to them and not educating them and socializing them to who they are, the environment that they're in, how they're to operate upon the planet, and she actually turns them over to an unrelated species to educate and socialize, okay, that's a very big violation of law. The universe says that's a big sin. Since y'all like the word sin so much, I like to use law because it has more of an impact on your consciousness when you hear, I have violated law. People hear sin now, they so used to breaking sin, and they say that since all of us sin and you can't help but sin, they hear that word and, you know, it means exactly nothing to them anymore.
You were feeling being in tune with vibrations and everything in existence has a level of vibration. How do we go about trying to get back in harmony with that?
The simplest way I can put it is that when you were brought here or put here, how to live a harmonious, unified life was not supposed to be something hard. Other people have made it hard. To get back in tune and vibration is really just understanding yourself and understanding your relationship with the other beings and creatures upon the planet. You have to realize that before the European conquest, there were people living in harmony and balance that never read a book. They didn't even know what a book was. They didn't know nothing about the Kabbalah. These people were nature people. But they lived in harmony with nature. They didn't speak English. They had no college education. There were no Bibles, no Quran. So obviously, this information was not something where you needed a college education. This information, how to live within balance with cosmic law, to live in balance with the other creatures and species upon the planet, to live in balance with your male and female, children living in balance with the parents. It was not something that required you to have a collegiate education or mindset. See, somebody else came along and introduced all that confusion. See, living wrong is very hard. Living right is easy. So when the Europeans came along and began to label these very quiet and peaceful native indigenous people, talking about they was uncivilized, that they was uneducated, that they were stupid, because they wasn't running to and fro trying to build, trying to control, and trying to dominate. See, the Europeans said that if you ain't trying to control, dominate, bring everything under your subjugation, something must be wrong with you intellectually. Because see, that's how they think. But the whole time, all of these various races of people were living in harmony. They were living in balance. And they didn't read. Well, no need for reading. To read takes a lot of time. These were nature people. They were one with nature. They were storytellers. They spent their time enjoying the planet. See, while we spend our time, we don't get to even enjoy this planet we live on is so beautiful, but how much time do we spend enjoying it? You can't enjoy it when you got to go to work 6-7 days a week. What do you get to enjoy working 6-7 days a week? You see what I'm saying? These people could go out into nature and name everything out there in nature. They could tell you what that plant did. They can name each and every tree. They could tell you the different moon settings. See, they were in tune. See, this is true education. We don't even have that no more. So we call ourselves intelligent today, but see, to me, we are not even intelligent. Those people were intelligent because they were in tune, and their vibration was higher, and they could predict rain. They could do stuff that we call sorcery now. So we like, you know, they be able to predict stuff and stuff, and we like, oh, that's witchcraft. See, that's voodoo, that's sorcery and stuff. No, them people were in tune. They were in tune with their surroundings. They were in tune with themselves, and most of all, they were in tune with the cosmic presence, the supreme all. And they stayed connected to that every day. And since they weren't about greed, they were not about excessiveness. They were not about subjugating each other and violence and punishment. That's what kept them in tune. So when you begin to adopt all of these atrocious habits and atrocious mindsets that creates disharmony, that creates disunity, that creates competition, that creates isolation, that creates a mindset that because I'm an adult and you a child, I'm superior to you, and what I have to say is more important than what you have to say. You don't have a voice because you just a child. Or if you a man and you figure like because I'm stronger than you and you a woman, then okay, because I'm powerful, I'm more powerful than you and I'm stronger than you and I can forcefully make you do what I want you to do, then I am more superior to you. See, it's these types of thinking that have caused us to regress and descend into this reptilian state of mind that we really manifest today. It is called the lower man, you know. So now we have to work our way back up to this stuff because we were on this level at one time, but because misinformation came along and then you accepted that misinformation because see, our ancestors could not have really been taken into slavery and everything done to them that was done if they really had not internalized those lies. You see what I'm saying? So you can't be a nigger unless you really think you're a nigger. So you become a nigger if you think that's what you are. See, I can call you a nigger all day long. But unless you think you're a nigger, that's when you really become the nigger. And you have to realize that a lot of our ancestors actually became niggers. They became niggers. And they passed the nigger mentality and the nigger reality on to us. And now there's niggas running all around. I see them every day. And I don't have no problem calling them what they are. They niggers. Niggers, nigglets, nigresses, and all the rest of them. It's a bunch of niggers out there. And they dangerous. The nigglets. That means when a nigress and a nigger get together, they have a nigglet. See, I use the power to define. You know what I'm saying? And see, I don't sit up there and say, you know, you got some people don't use the word nigger. Why not? Now, we know the white folks created them some niggers and that they out there. And them niggas, you sit up there and talk about the white folks, the niggas gonna be mad too. Nigga hurt you talking about the white folks because the nigga loved them some white folks. So you have to realize that some of us are now niggas. So ain't no use of me sitting up here not wanting to talk about it and not admit it when I can see it around me every